special, a special brother of mine,
And we're live.
DJ Goss. How you doing, brother Goss?
I'm doing swell, my brother. How about yourself?
You know, we
It's
are
fine Monday evening,
Monday evening. We're reporting
March
to you.
21st.
We're reporting to you
2022
live
at 5:56 p.m.
and
West Coast
direct.
time.
This is Assassin's Bakery coming to you live on West Coast time. We're here live and direct. How are you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling well, brother. I'm doing good. I'm alive. I'm healthy.
Man.
We're here doing this pod. It's a lot going on in the sports world.
Ooh, man, you
It's
can
a lot
say that
going
to
on in
us.
the real world. Gas prices, but you know
Oh
what?
man, we do.
That's a different story.
Oh, that's a
For a
different
pod.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, so we're gonna just remain on this strictly sports topic.
Yeah, this is the
I'm
sports.
glad we're able to reunite and we're able to
Get together and always
put together some content for the fans.
show the
That's
people
greatly
show
appreciated.
show the brothers and sisters that there's a different sports perspective out there, and that we can we're gonna bring it to you. We're gonna touch on a little bit of everything. It's not just one thing. We're not a specific podcast that we're not discriminatory against anybody. We look at the whole league and the whole league in its own, everybody in it, and we separate our bias at times, but the affinities for the teams that we love are the affinities for the teams that we love.
Absolutely, in a real way. So without further ado, it's JG, the Quiet Assassin, and
Mr. Bread, you heard what I
already
said.
All right, so let's go ahead and delve in. So we're gonna talk a little bit about NFL offseason. It's been a crazy whirlwind of different players changing teams via free agency, via trade. So let's go ahead and dive into our three teams that really stood out to us. For me personally, I'm picking a team out of the AFC North Division, the Cincinnati Bengals. They shored up their offensive line. They signed former Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman Lyle Collins to a 3-year deal. They signed Alex Kappa to a 4-year, $35 million deal. They signed Ted Karras, offensive lineman. They brought back a couple guys that played in their secondary this past season, and Eli Apple and Jesse Bates III. So they're kind of shoring up their secondary. And the reason why the Bengals stood out to me is because in the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow was sacked 7 times. I believe it was either in the first half or the entire game. And just even throughout the season, he was sacked quite a bit. In order for Burrow to have time and go through all his progressions, he has to have an offensive line that's going to block for him, for allow him time to do that. And it seems like the Bengals felt the same way that I feel, and they went on ahead and they addressed their line. They assigned three people to kind of shore up that offensive line to give Burrow time to survey all of his options. And I mean, and it also helps Joe Mixon at the same time too. It helps the run game. The run game will flourish. You know what I mean? On a different level. Mixon's also a receiving back. He can catch passes out of the backfield that'll open up more opportunities, I feel, for him as too in the passing game. So I feel like they really addressed like the one weakness of that team, which was the offensive line. Their defense, I feel like, was good enough. Obviously made it to the Super Bowl, so that's pretty telling of them. They brought back a couple key guys that were in their secondary last season, so kudos to them. Next team I would like to mention that I feel like had a good offseason was the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos, they made a trade and they acquired Russell Wilson. Everybody knows who Russell Wilson is. A Super Bowl quarterback, multiple Pro Bowls, played the first 10, 11 seasons in Seattle, former 3rd round pick. He made a great career for himself in Seattle. It was just time for him to move on, and he has a lot of targets to throw to. Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton. They signed Randy Gregory, former Dallas Cowboys defensive end. They brought in Alex Singleton, former linebacker from the Philadelphia Eagles. So they have a pretty solid defense, and their offense was all pretty intact. They just needed a quarterback they could build for in the future. And Russell Wilson, I mean, he's been in the league for a little while, but he's still a starting caliber quarterback. And I feel like, um, with the right tutelage and with health on their side, who knows what the Broncos could do. I really feel like that was a glaring weakness with that team. They did not have a starting caliber quarterback. Now you bring in a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback to this offense that's already pretty much intact. Like, yeah, you lose Noah Fant in the trade, but maybe you can sign a tight end in free agency, or maybe you draft one to replace Noah Fant. I don't really feel like they're going to lose too much with that. And the third team that really stood out to me that had a solid free agency was the Los Angeles Chargers. They made a trade for Khalil Mack, former Raider, former Chicago Bear, to tag team him and Joey Bosa together. They signed J.C. Jackson to kind of shore him up at corner. You got Derwin James back there, who's pretty much can play either safety or linebacker. You bring in Gerald Everett to give you some more support in the pass game to go along with. You just re-signed Mike Williams, so that was good. So you got Mike Williams and you got Keenan Allen. You brought in Austin Johnson, another defensive tackle. Then you brought in Christian Covington, another defensive tackle, to shore up that defensive line. So these were the three teams that stood out to me that made moves to really propel themselves next season going forward to have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. I don't know what team stood out for you this offseason that had a good offseason in your eyes.
Well, brother, I mean, I feel like great minds think alike, and I can honestly say that I'm kind of along the same lines, but it's a little bit skewed off a little bit because I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna start off with the AFC North Division. Yes, the Super Bowl Cincinnati Bengals, they did add some solid pieces and they upgraded. But I feel like the real team that's being slept on in that division is the Browns. I mean, look at what they added. They added Amari Cooper, and they added Deshaun Watson to an already solidified defense with Myles Garrett and multiple pass rushers and a solid secondary. I mean, to me, I was honestly questioning. I was going to pose the question: who really is which division is worse to be in? Because I feel like the AFC North is being slept on right now. The AFC North has some dogs. I mean, you got to deal with Deshaun Watson. You got to deal with Lamar Jackson. Now you got to deal with Mitchell Trubisky and then Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I just feel like Joe Burrow, he's kind of like propelled himself because he has weapons. He has Jamar Chase. He has Tyler Boyd. He has Mixon. He has, I can't think of the name of their tight end right there, but Mitchell Trubisky, he did a test run in Chicago, and then it's just like he was a backup in Buffalo to Josh Allen. It's just like, okay, he's going to have a starting role in Pittsburgh now. What is he going to do with it?
But then look at what Pittsburgh does, though. Pittsburgh is a run and play defense type of game. They got Najee Harris. They lost Juju, and that's going to kind of tie into my next team. Or I really didn't. So this offseason, really, there was so many different acquisitions, and like that, the whole divisions got better. Like the landscape of the NFL has changed dramatically. Like just as a whole, like it's not like one team has gotten good. Like that's why I said the AFC North as a whole has gotten stronger. Like that's damn near what you have. You got solid three comparable quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson ain't no watch. Yeah, he ain't been in the league. He ain't been playing, but the man's been rested. He's a fresh quarterback. You're gonna give him that with weapons, with Amari Cooper, and Jarvis Landry hasn't signed anywhere to my knowledge, not that I know of right now. So they can possibly get him back. Him, Amari Cooper, Njoku, with that run game, that can be possibly nasty. But then you still got to deal with Joe Shiesty and motherfucking Lamar Jackson. The AFC North is nothing to be slept on, but that kind of helps me transition into my second division, not team. But you know, everything aside, the AFC West, I feel like, has changed the landscape of the NFL the most. The players that were added. Yeah, you know, there's some big name players that have gone to some other places. You know, Allen Robinson to the Rams, Von Miller to the Bills, things like that. But the most, like you brought up, like you alluded to, J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, along with Herbert.
Right.
Then you like once what once was a
running back.
That's what I'm saying. There with a solid defense, Mack and Bosa, like where do you pass on? And then you scurry yourself up to Denver, and which was a quarterback devoid team, now has one of a prolific quarterback with weapons, and all they really need is a run game. They need to draft. They need to hit the draft with a running back, because I mean that would solidify their team. That's what helps Russell the most. But I mean, shit, you give him weapons and a healthy Russell, yeah, he gonna cook. It's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem, and then I did not. And this to me was what really set this off is the Chiefs. The Chiefs had no money. The Chiefs can't even re-sign Tyrann Mathieu, but they get Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah. I see.
Which is a big pickup.
Yeah.
You're giving Patrick Mahomes a real fucking receiver. Not to say that Tyreek Hill isn't a real receiver, but Tyreek Hill has been getting double bracketed and all that shit for the past 4 years. So you're giving a real receiver opposite to him. You're getting a wide receiver 2 or 2 number ones. And then you pair that with Kelsey.
Yeah.
And you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, that was big.
That's a big pickup. And where I'm gonna save it, but those 3 teams right there, those pickups, to me were crucial. Those were the division, the picks, the free agency so far within the division has been, and the trades that have been executed have been immaculate within the AFC, and the AFC West is, to me, the best division. That's the division I feel like nobody wants to play now. You're not going to want to play the AFC West because you know you get in a dogfight. And beyond a dogfight, you're going to actually have to play because you're going to have to guard some real dogs. You're going to have to shut down some real proven dogs. And that's not, and that ain't no easy task. And it's crazy to me, because I never seen it coming like this. I didn't think that these moves would happen. But we'll further get into that. But I'm gonna state my last team, and my last team to me is a loser, a really big loser. And to me, they were the biggest losers in free agency, and I love them. I've always watched them. But the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I felt like they overspent in free agency.
They caught the Fugazi bug this year. You know, they paid a whole bunch of not even names, just, players with solid statistics, but in reality what you really needed to do was build your offensive line and build a defense. For young Trevor Lawrence, you're going about building it the wrong way. I mean, defense wins championships, and that's seldomly forgot that, man, you got to stop somebody. You have to stop the other team from scoring points so you can score more points. I feel like that's lost. And, Jacksonville went out and paid it. I mean, not to shade Zay Jones, but Zay Jones is a solid receiver. He's not a $30 million receiver.
He got 3 years, $30 million.
Yeah. I mean, I know, and don't take that as hate. I want the man to get his bag. I hope he gets, I love when brothers get their bag. But at the same time, organizationally, you're not winning. That's not a win.
Christian Kirk, is he worth 4 years, $72 million?
Absolutely not.
So it's just like it's a prime example of why I said I feel like they overpaid. Zay Jones, 3 years, $30 million, probably 3 years, $15 million. Christian Kirk, 4 year, we're gonna go on a 4 year deal. 32 million.
Honestly, all these
4 year deal. Like,
all those dudes that they needed to sign were 11 to $14 million dudes. Nigga, 2 years,
right.
$7 million a year, bro. I'm not giving you $10 million a year for shit. No matter if it's only 20 guaranteed, bro. I'm not giving you 30 million. You gotta pull. Before I give you a long-term contract, you gotta show me you gonna show up.
No disrespect to Christian Kirk.
No,
he's just. I just don't feel like he's proven himself to the point where he's warranted a 4 year, $72 million deal. If he cashed in while he was in, Arizona, then I would, definitely agree with that. But it's just like he just really didn't perform. He underperformed in the playoffs. It was really his time to step up, given that DeAndre Hopkins was hurt. He didn't. And it's just, I don't know. But he got paid, so hey, we'll see what kind of.
We'll see what we'll see what the investment
They have Travis Etienne returning. He was hurt all last season at running back, so maybe that'll help the offense out a little bit more. So we'll see what Jacksonville does this year. But I agree with you, brother. They were a team that definitely took an L this offseason. Not because they weren't aggressive or they didn't try to sign people. It's just the people that they signed just didn't really felt like they were the pieces that they needed to sign in for the price that they needed to sign them at. So we'll see how this all unfolds.
Oh yeah, but that leads me to the biggest winners of the off season, biased and no bias.
Who's that? I'd like to know.
I think it's a storied franchise that's been in the shadows for years.
What's that?
My bad. I mean, we're not being biased around here. I just feel, and statistically, and just in general, that the Las Vegas Raiders have made the biggest upgrade out of any team in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Is there anybody that you feel has upgraded more than the Las Vegas Raiders?
The only team that I could probably say that upgraded the most would be.
Because there's a lot of teams that have came up. There's a lot of people who've re-signed. There's a lot of people who came back. There's a lot of trades that have been made. Like it's been like you said to kick off the show. It's been a whirlwind. Do you go with? Because to me, the only team that would probably rival that is the Browns, because adding Deshaun Watson and a proven receiver to already offenses.
But to that point, before you know what? Okay, let me answer your question. I'm going to address that point about the Browns.
Okay.
So, to answer your question about another team that I feel like has proven themselves or they really helped themselves in this offseason besides the Raiders, I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like the Chargers. That deal is speaking to me. Khalil Mack, Bosa, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James. You had Gerald Everett. You re-signed Mike Williams. You already got Eckler. You got what's the quarterback's name?
Justin Herbert.
Herbert. He's a boy at quarterback. You add 2 D tackles that are already pretty good defense. Kind of shore them up a little bit. I feel like that was good. Like they didn't do a whole lot, but that Mac deal was something that defense was not as good as it was the year before, like this past season. So bringing him on board, I feel like he's gonna help them. You bring in J.C. Jackson, veteran corner, something that they needed. I feel like in order for the Raiders to have the best offseason, we have to bring in Stephon Gilmore. We need
But you
like a number one corner. I feel like he would help us.
But you don't.
We brought in Adams. You need a number one receiver. You need a number one corner like that.
But you don't feel already with the acquisitions that have been made that it's not already a W amongst, like, we've addressed holes. We've addressed
Chandler Jones. I like that acquisition.
Chandler Jones, Rock Ya-Sin, because you have to remember we got Nate Hobbs and Mullen. Mullen is not a bad corner.
He gotta stay healthy. That's the only knock on him.
That's the only knock on him. He has to stay healthy. Can't make the club in the tub.
Exactly.
But you add a good, like, Rock Ya-Sin is either a good second corner or a great rotational corner. You bring Stephon Gilmore in, and if you get him in there, cool. You can you have a solid corner mentoring two young corners, because Trayvon Mullen is not a old corner. Like, he's still young. He's still developing. So we can we have talent there. If we can bring Stephon Gilmore or Bradbury, like you were saying, I mean, yes, that's a great addition, but the additions we already made, I mean, shoot, that's 3 big splashes. That's 3 areas that we needed to get better in. Those are 3 areas that you need to solidify your team, and then also, not to mention, bringing in solidifying Max Crosby, a cornerstone Hall of Fame defensive end.
He deserved everything.
Every penny. That man worked for it. Respect. Shouts out to Max Crosby. Sax Crosby. Sax Crosby. I'm going in right now. Look out for the merch. Sax Crosby is coming. Hey man, you getting at it. Everything, bro. You are Hall of Fame. I'm behind you. In a real way.
100%.
Respect, man. But there's things that we still need to add. Hey, I mean, I feel like the backfield, man. Adding Bolden is a solid 3rd down receiving back, and with Kenyon Drake back,
is he gonna be healthy? That's the thing about Drake, man.
But he can be. I mean, if he can come back from his injury healthy, you have to understand that you have to look at what Josh McDaniels has done with the offense and where he's been at. Look at what the key was to the Patriots getting Mac Jones to the playoff his first year. He took pressure off of his quarterback with the run game. They were running with 3 different people. They had 3 different backs back there. Look at what he has now. Now he has an actual top talent back. He has a proven receiving back, and then he has a solid 3rd down back that can block and do everything for you. And he brought his fullback back in so they can pound the ball. All I'm waiting for is him to bring some big nasty maulers in.
Maulers, sprawlers.
And then we're back in now we back running it down people's throats, throwing it deep, old school Raider football. And now you got the reincarnation of Jerry Rice and Tim Brown. I'm calling the hot take now, and you can say Brian Edwards, Devontae Adams, Jerry Rice, Tim Brown.
So who's Tim Brown? Who's Jerry Rice?
Tim Brown is Brian Edwards. Jerry Rice, Devontae Adams.
Okay. Alright.
One of the greatest receivers of all time. And Brian Edwards isn't a bad receiver. Brian Edwards can catch the ball. He's not a number 1. He doesn't have that flash to get niggas off him and do that. He's a possession receiver. Just like Tim Brown was. Devontae, get your ass. Devontae, get your ass running the route tree. Devontae, get you going deep. Devontae will speed past you, slants, everything. Like, Devontae's no joke. Devontae is, I mean, he's the best receiver. And what was Jerry Rice?
Best receiver. So, hey, you heard it first. You're on Assassin's Bakery.
That's my hot take. That is my hot take for sure.
Yeah. In a real way, man. All right, man. So let's switch sports. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA. The Warriors, currently 47-24, third in the Western Conference standings.
Okay.
There's kind of a lot going on. Steph Curry, sprained foot ligament, out for the next 2 weeks. James Wiseman, second-year center, former 2nd overall pick, got a setback in his rehab. He had a 3-game assignment. The G League, Santa Cruz Warriors. After the third game, there was some swelling that developed in his knee. I believe it happened either Wednesday or Thursday, and it was reported to the team on Friday. And they decided to rule him out indefinitely. I hate to hear that because, like, this young man has really worked so hard. He initially tore his MCL back in April of last year, of 2021. He was initially only supposed to miss 6 months, and he had to end up, missing a little more additional time. He was due to come back in November. Then he had a setback where some debris and swelling developed in that surgically repaired knee, so that he had surgery in December, and then he was cleared to work out, and eventually he had his debut last week with the Santa Cruz Warriors, and he looked pretty good. One game he had about 19 points, 12 rebounds. One game he had about 14 points. I'm not sure how many rebounds he had, but he was averaging, I believe, 18 and 7 through those 3 games he played, so he showed pretty good promise. 20 minutes a game, looked like he bulked up, looked like he made a commitment to rebounding, something that he felt like he needs to do if he's going to have, if he's going to play a pivotal role in the rotation this postseason. But another setback in the recovery process for Wiseman, so I don't know if they're going to shut him down for the season, but at this point it probably looks like that probably is the route they should go, instead of trying to allow him to rest for 3-4 weeks and bring him back and possibly have another setback. It just sounds like his body isn't up to the challenge, and that he needs to fully heal. So
yeah, he still needs some time to recover.
Yeah. And then we have Draymond. He returns. He adds playmaking. He's a defensive presence. He's a veteran. But lately he's been getting ejected a lot. I feel like he needs to cut down on the texts. The one question that I have, going forward, though, with the Warriors is, what rotation will Kerr use in the postseason? I wrote down a list of different lineups, and then a list of other players that I didn't incorporate into these lineups. So I'm gonna allow the audience to listen in. So Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Green, Looney. That's the lineup. Steph, Clay, Poole, Kuminga, Green. Poole, Moody, Iggy, Kuminga, Bjelica. And then you got Juan Toscano, and you got Damian Lee, you got GP2. So you got to kind of find ways to incorporate those last 3 guys I mentioned into those 3 5-man lineups I just aforementioned. So it's just like, we're really lacking a lot of size. Is that going to hurt us going forward? Because especially we're going to have to match up with Denver. You got Jokic, big 7-footer, do-it-all center. You got Gobert, defensive-minded center, but he can also score. Who else will we have to worry about? Ayton.
Yeah.
Son, 7-footer. He can score, face up to the basket, all of that. Towns, if we have to play Minnesota, that's another pretty diverse big man that can pretty much do it all. That can hurt us. He hurt us last time he played. I think he had 36 and 12 or something, if I'm not mistaken. So really not having Wiseman to help us. I know he's not going to score a ton of points if he was to play, but just to help us on the rebounding department was key. And possibly that can open up more plays for him on the offensive end, just, playing with Steph and playing with Clay, given that they command so much attention. So I don't know, man. So what's your take on the Warriors, man? I think no Wiseman. I feel like Steph comes back healthy.
Well, I mean,
possibly a second round exit, or maybe a trip to the conference finals. I don't know if we can win it all, but I hope we can. I'll say that.
I see the Warriors in the conference finals. I mean, so right now they're number 8 in the whole league as far as a whole, and the only other Western Conference teams that are above them right now are the Dallas Mavericks and the Suns. So, I mean, as long as we don't get matched up with either one of them, I mean, we're doing pretty good to be middle of the pack in the league to not have some key components. So I don't feel like we're too far off. Now, as far as the rotations go, I feel like that's more in our favor, and that's what makes me feel like we can. So, like, I'm solid confident that we can beat. We can literally beat two teams in a 7-game series with the components that you said, because there's somebody that you forgot about, and that's a solid key contributor too, and can sting your ass, because that's what a lot of those players are right now. They're not really solid players who can come in and give you a solid amount of points, but guess what? On a good night, they'll tear your ass up. And the dude that I'm talking about is Otto Porter. Otto Porter can come through and win your ass a game if you need one. Just one. Well, 1 in 2 minutes, man, he'll give you 12 points. He'll give you that 12 points that you need in that drought when Steph and these niggas ain't hitting. And that's why I feel like the Warriors are a better team than a lot of these teams, even the Suns. Because guess what the Suns can't do? The Suns can't throw a Juan Toscano Anderson out there when you need energy. The Suns can't throw a Gary Payton Jr. out there when you need somebody locked up. What the Suns can't do is they can't put out a mid between big man, which they have two of, because Bielitsa and Otto Porter Jr. are the same height, same player. So they can go long, but yet still be small and move the ball and still play the switching defense. That's why I'm not gonna say I don't put too much stock into Wiseman, but I will say that he has the affordability to get comfortable. I feel like he kind of feels like he has to press because Kuminga's doing so well. Moody is a sleeper. And
Poole is doing killing it right
and Poole is to me should be the 6th man of the year.
In the season, he should win that shit.
Yeah, he's a beast. This man you can't stop him, and you can insert him into the starting lineup if you needed to. That's why I'm like everybody's Curry's down. No, that's cool. You understand that this man who can put 34 up on you is about to get warm before the playoffs. What, then we gonna have Steph Curry starting the game and this nigga already gonna be ready to go? Get out of here. Get out of here. It's giving me the strength in numbers vibe. And it's giving me that type of environment. Steve Kerr's back in his bag. He can run multiple sets. You don't have to go, like, that's the beauty of Warrior basketball, and that's why I have been a Warrior fan, is because it don't matter who he has. He's gonna throw combinations out there that's gonna be like, what? And it'll either work or it doesn't. But now that he has a team full of like young, budding, hungry, like basketball players, and then you incorporate that with your already big 3 or big 4 with Looney, you've solidified it, and you got Wiggins.
Absolutely, yeah. Forgot about Wiggs. Yeah.
And then you throw, and then who's been able to, and then who's gonna stop Kuminga? Who, like, literally
he gotta stay out of foul trouble though.
But he's rambunctious, and guess what? You know what? Hey, look, in the playoffs, I'll shoot you 10 minutes. Go out there and foul the shit out of it. Go up, get 3, and then I'm gonna pull you out. Right. Make sure they 3 good ones.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So you think Western Conference Finals matchup is that's your prediction for the Warriors this season?
Western Conference Finals, Warriors, Suns.
Warriors, Suns. Okay, I definitely give you see that. For real.
Do you have an opinion about the Eastern Conference?
Eastern Conference? I mean, Miami is up right now in the standings. They got Oladipo just came back. You got Hero. You got Duncan Robinson. You got Lowry. You got Butler. You got Bam. There's a lot of players you got to account for in that team, so it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. You got Philly, you got Embiid, you got fucking Harden, Tyrese Maxey. Seems like he's stepping up. He's going to be a person or a member of that big 3 out there in Philly. If they can find a way to incorporate Tobias Harris, where they can at least get him to at least average 15-8, 15-9 on a consistent basis, I feel like they have a legitimate chance. But their defense, their bench, they're kind of lacking because they gave up Steph Curry. That was really their one shooter off the bench they can rely on. But I don't know. You got Danny Green, but he's getting up there in age. Who else do they have on there?
It's
Shake Williams, Shake Melton. Got him.
I mean, not too much. I mean, they don't. Again, there's not a lot of teams that have quality depth.
Yeah.
After that, like 6-7 player.
Yeah, and then you got, but Boston, they've been surging lately. It's just I seem like after they made that trade when they got rid of Schroeder, they brought in Derek White.
Mm-hmm. Derek White. Hey, I've been watching some Boston games, and Derek White is a solid player. I don't know what it was about where he was at the Spurs.
Spurs,
yeah. I don't know what was going on, but Derek White is a piece. He's a contributor.
Yeah, so it just seems like it's working out because I feel like he takes off the ball handling responsibilities from Marcus Smart, from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because it allows those guys to kind of just
move freely and do
move freely, exactly. Instead of trying to have to do everything, create for themselves, create for their teammates, they can just kind of play their games. He's a pure point guard. No disrespect to Schroeder, but he just, I don't know. I felt like he just kind of did what he wanted to do. He wasn't a pure point guard. He wasn't conducive to what the team was trying to do moving forward. So they decided to part ways with him. So you got to watch out for Boston. Milwaukee, obviously, they're coming to contend and defend their title. You can't count them out. And they really didn't lose too much. They gave up Dante DiVincenzo in a trade. The deadline sent him to Sacramento. Kind of fell out of the rotation, so I don't really see that really affecting them moving forward. But who else in the Eastern Conference?
Well, how do you feel about the Nets?
The Nets, it's really up in the air with the Nets. There's so many unknowns, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We can delve into this right now. So you got Ben Simmons. When and if is he going to return, you know? His back is hurt and he hasn't played all season. His conditioning isn't up to par.
I mean, you would have thought the trade. I mean, I thought he was going to come back after he got traded because I thought that was the the main crux of the issue was shit. I need to get traded.
And now all of a sudden there's a report coming out that there's a chance that he can possibly play the last few games of the season. But it's like the last few games of the season, are you going to be able to generate a rhythm heading into the playoffs, knowing that the intensity of the playoffs is a whole lot different than the regular season.
Way bigger animal.
You can't just come in and play helter-skelter basketball like you do in the regular season to get reacclimated. In the playoffs, it's like it's a different animal. You got to be on your shit. It's like the intensity is a lot higher. You know what I'm saying? I feel like guys are exerting more energy.
Oh yeah, it's you're fighting for it. You're in the tournament now.
It's winner go home. You know, so to come back right in the playoffs and you haven't played all year, it's just like. I just don't feel like it bodes well, and then that's just one variable of the whole situation. Then you got the Kyrie Irving drama, melodrama, whatever you want to refer to it as. Not getting vaccinated, can't play in home games, can play in away games. So it's like in a series, he can't play when you guys are at home, but when you guys are away, he can play. So it's just like the team is never gonna be complete at full strength.
You're operating at 50%.
Exactly. So how can you really fully evaluate this team if they're never going to be at 100% the rest of the season? So and then not only on that, it's like, will they even make the playoffs? Like, what if they get into a play-in situation?
Man, that's crazy that they're even in that situation with the amount of talent that they've had. Exactly. You would not expect them to be there.
And Kyrie can't play in the away game because I'm just saying, I don't know if that could possibly happen, but what if that's a scenario that presents itself where you can't potentially play in a playing game, and let's say they get in a playing situation, you can't play because the game is a away game, or not away game, it's a home game maybe, you know. So I don't know.
I mean, you have to literally catch the luck of the draw or believe in your team, but then it's like okay, you just traded away James Harden for Ben Simmons, but you're not gonna have Ben Simmons, and James Harden is playing. Like, so really, what did you trade him for? And then you just got KD back. So are you going to put you've seen how he operates when he gets stressed out and the pressure gets put on him. So, and then you only have like we we're just alluding to, you only got Kyrie Irving 50% of the time. Like, Man, how like you can't do like how as a coach that must be fucked up for Steve Nash because you got a half-ass part-time nigga, man. Like I'm only here half the season.
And you have to constantly readjust your game plan. One game you can account for Kyrie being there. Okay, we can run this, do this. Next game, we gotta scratch that plan. We gotta develop a whole new plan because you can't account for him. He's not gonna be present. So it's just like that has to be frustrating mentally.
And then on some GM shit, I'm surprised that they even allowed this. Like on some like business type shit. Like, come on now, I'm gonna cash you out a full contract, but you only played 50% of the games. Like, I understand that he's good, but then at the same time, it's like, bro, you can go somewhere. Like somewhere else can pay him. Like you can get him off for a package and. Like, you know, like to where you're not taking so much of an L because now you're like, to me, yeah, you know what, and don't get me wrong, Kyrie's a baller. He put up 60 the other night, but man, like if you can only do that, what, 2 times out of the week, 1 time out of the week, man, like if it wasn't what happens when you're on a 4-game homestand, you're not there. You can't even watch. You can't even be in the motherfucker. Like you can't. You're non-existent to the team.
Exactly, not really helping us.
And I mean, I'm not against my brothers getting the bag, but at the same time, on some business shit, that's crazy. How like you know what the players have so much power now, and there's nothing wrong with it as it should be. Shit, you're out here making the motherfucking entertainment. You should control people like that. But then at the same time, it's like, look, if I were to have my GM hat on, bro, you be gone. You somebody else's problem. You're not mine. I'm not gonna deal with it. Just like Russ. Oh, you out here breaking when you out here getting into it with fans and getting sensitive and shit. People, you got my team on TV for the wrong reasons. Get out of here. Nah, you gonna be somebody else's problem. And that's not even no hating on his skills or nothing. Because Russ is a damn great athlete, damn good basketball player. But guess what? He don't know how to do nothing else but be that.
What it is, him, and a team that I feel like consider the losers, the Magic, man. You know, I know they're in full rebuild mode. They gave away Vujicic last season before the deadline. They gave away Gordon. Traded Vujicic to the Bulls. They traded Gordon to the Nuggets. Well, I don't know. What are they going to do with Mo Bamba? Like, what's the development process with him? Is he going to be the starting 5 eventually in time? Is he just going to be a rotational player? I don't know. I mean, I like Cole Anthony, Gary Anthony's son. He's a solid point guard, and they drafted Jalen Suggs. I don't know if the plan is to play both of them together, to alternate time at point guard, or, I mean, because Jalen Suggs is about 6'3", 6'4". He's not really big enough to be a prototypical 2 guard. I don't know. I feel like you need to be at least 6'5", 6'6". That's at least a solid height to be a 2 guard.
Yeah. I mean, depending on your game, Jalen Suggs has
more of a point guard.
Yeah, he's better with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Jonathan Isaac, he seems to be a miss. I probably anticipated he was going to be like a Brandon Ingram or KD type player, and it's just not there. So, they're last in the Eastern Conference standings. It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward, whatever pick they get. But that's a team that I just consider just complete losers last season, in the NBA. You have a team that you felt like just totally just didn't capitalize or really didn't make an effort to get better this past season?
The Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers, not only did they fail to get better, but they actually achieved in getting worse. You let go of a all-star player for breadcrumbs.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
They should have came up on that trade way more than they did. And then on top of that, you failed to add to and solidify. Hell, first off, C.J. McCollum would have been the last person I traded. I would have played Yusuf Nurkic. I would have traded him. I would have traded him. I would have got him out of there. Again, what's the saying? Can't make the club in the tub. You're
That's
always hurt, bro.
Best ability is availability.
Man,
you know?
say it 2 times, man. That's why I'm like, he's not there. He hasn't been there, so you need to get the fuck up out of here while you still got value.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't have traded CJ. That's a solid backcourt. You need a real big man. They should have went after somebody, especially with that capital. Knowing, because they could have got I forgot they could have got bro from Chicago. Chicago was looking for a big man. They could have traded him to
Wendell Carter.
Yeah. Add a rebounding big man to the squad. That would have been a good trade right there. Young, pair him up with Dame time. He's not a big name. He doesn't need all the touches and everything. You can go out there and do the dirty work. You add you another solid wing, get some bench players. You could have upgraded. But guess what you did? You got worse. You traded an all-star. You kept the aging and injured center. And guess what? Your perennial point guard, your star player, doesn't want to be there. They have failed. That GM, that front office, they take an L, and they've taken a big L And there's a lot of teams. There's some underwhelming teams out there. But then at the same time, nobody has lost like the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers were consistent playoff teams. Now I don't even think they make the playoffs. Who's their star now? Who's their 2 guard? Anthony Simons? You think Anthony Simons is a perennial?
I think that's who they are basing their future around.
But do you believe that Anthony Simons is do you think Anthony Simons' ceiling is higher than CJ McCollum?
Go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say yes. For one, he's bigger than he is. He's bigger. I feel like he's a little more athletic. I feel like the fact that he's younger, he has a lot of room to grow, and I feel like he's already been shown that he's been working on his game. He's only gonna get better. I think he could be the cornerstone 2 guard for the Blazers. I don't know what they're gonna build around him, but I can see him being that guy. Now maybe it's time for Dan to move on. I feel like it's just, you can't stay there anymore. They're obviously in the rebuild mode. Once they traded CJ, that was it.
Yeah.
It's no more stick it out, Dan, be here forever. No, like if you're gonna stick it out, keep him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was falling off. He's balling right now for the fucking Pelicans. Why would you trade him away? Like all they needed to do was to, like you said, trade Nurkic. They needed a better big man. He just wasn't cutting it. He was never there, and even when he was there, he really wasn't doing a whole lot. Like they need like a Anthony Davis type player at that 4 or 5 spot, or they need like a Jokic or some player of that caliber. I mean, they're a small market team, so it's probably hard for them to acquire that type of talent, and given the budget that they have and the market that they're in. So they kind of have to, spend the least to try to, get a serviceable big, and that's kind of feel like what they got with Nurkic and Whiteside, other big men in the past. The only really solid big man I feel like the Blazers ever had was Aldridge, and I feel like Aldridge probably would have never left. Maybe Portland would have had a chance.
Yeah, the window would have been a little bit more,
wider. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. That's just my own take on Portland.
And I fuck with Portland, and I feel you on that, but I don't think you can't trade Dame. You can't I don't care if you're rebuilding. You have to rebuild around him. You have to rebuild around him. Come on now, where are you gonna find you're gonna draft another perennial point guard like that? That's a proven talent, and he's not aged like that. He's on his first real injury.
Yeah, but I feel like they wasting his prime away. They owe it to him to trade him somewhere to where he can win. They haven't lived up to it. He's been there for how many years? He's been there for damn near 10 years now, bro. It's just I feel like he's in a KD situation. It's time for Brandon.
Time to go. And hopefully they grant him that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully he comes back from the injury. I hope he
Anthony
comes back.
Davis. Anthony Davis spent less time. He only spent 7 years with the Pelicans. The way he went about it, probably the man in the trade, it probably wasn't the best, route. But you couldn't fault him because all those years they didn't surround him with a team that was good enough to make it out of the first round. And I feel like Portland, like they had chances in 2019. They made the Western Conference Finals. They fell short to the Warriors. It was just, I feel like that team together with McCollum, it kind of plateaued. Maybe they could have found a way to, tweak it to kind of retool in a sense of way. Kind of build on the fly to try to make it to where they can still compete, have a window, maybe a 2 to 3 year window where they have a chance to compete for a title because, Lillard's 30, I think McCollum's on the other side 30, so these guys are not in their 20s anymore. So it's like, if you're going to compete, you're going to win something, you got to do it in these next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I just felt like maybe Portland as an organization felt like, you know what, it's time to hit the reset button. The first piece that we need to move is McCollum. But like you said, if you're going to be in that rebuild mode mindset, you need to be trading for compensation. You can't just trade to agree to a trade because financially it makes sense. You need to be trading so you can build for your future.
Exactly.
So
at least cover your ass
right.
and bring and be able to bring some more talent in to make it look good. But they're just, and like that's why I feel like there's different types of GMs in these organizations. You have certain people who are looking forward to that because look at Utah. Utah is a small market, but guess who they brought in? They brought in Whiteside. They got Gobert. They got Mitchell on big contracts. It's not like it's impossible to do.
The vice president,
man,
Dwayne Wade.
Man.
Yeah, so I feel like I see a lot of Dwayne Wade and Donovan Mitchell. So that's pretty ironic that he's I don't know if he's a managing partner or what his role is, but he has a role with the Utah Jazz. I don't know if those of you that follow the NBA know that, but yeah. So like you said, Utah
they have the ability. They're a small market team.
They're able to attract some talent. They're able to attract people to their organization that can help propel them to be that championship team and get back to the finals like they did back in the 90s when they faced the Bulls. And those back-to-back years.
And also, too, they've been a solid team. Yeah. Because I know you watch basketball just like I watch basketball.
Darren Williams, Andre Kirilenko, Carlos Boozer,
Mehmet
Okur.
They were always in the playoffs. Always in the playoffs. And even when they did have that little bit of lull, they had like a 3 year, 4 year, they had 3 or 4 year run where they weren't really at the top of the league anymore like that, or they weren't making the playoffs, but then they retooled and came back. They've always shown that they've been a cool organization enough to put something together. See, you have certain organizations that just bring people in. They're like, look, we're just going to pay the talent and we're going to hope the talent works together. Right. Then you have certain organizations that, like we're talking about, you get capital for your big name players. When you take money off the books, you at least get something in gain, not, oh, I'm just not losing. Like, come on now, like that's not that, oh, I'm just not losing so I win. No, that's not how the shit works. You still gotta put forth an effort and you gotta put something out there in order for you to win.
Absolutely.
You gotta make money, you gotta put butts in seats. You gotta make sure that there's a good product out there on the floor, and that's the thing about it. I don't feel like the Portland Trailblazers are out for that. They just want to, win. Like, they just want to, like on some A shit. Let's just make sure we got a team. We're in the NBA. We can sell tickets. We have a big market player. Let's work.
Absolutely. So I guess we kind of alluded to this earlier. Teams to watch in the East, the Celtics. I have the Cavs on here too. I like what the Cavs are doing. I like what they have in Colin Sexton. I like Darius Garland. Who else do they have? Okoro, Isaac Okoro.
Oh yeah.
We have what's the center's name? They drafted from USC.
Oh, he's a beast too.
Center. What's that man's name?
Mm.
The center from USC.
Damn, I'm trying to think. Jared Allen.
Well, they have Jared Allen, but there's a rookie they drafted from USC.
What, Moses Brown or Evan Mobley?
Evan Mobley, that's his name. They have Evan Mobley. He's a 7-footer. He's averaging, I think, 14 and 9 for the season. You have Kevin Love to the mix. You have Rajon Rondo, a veteran point guard.
You got fucking Lauri Markkanen.
A stretch 4. So they're pretty loaded. It's just, it really just depends on how, these guys being healthy and ready to go. Because Jared Allen, he has fractured fingers. They said he's supposed to return playoff time. So hopefully he's ready to go. Because I feel like he's a big piece of what they're trying to do moving forward. So I have the Cavs in there. Everybody's talking about the Bucks, Philly, the Nets. They may not make it. If they do, if they release the restrictions, maybe we have a different story, a different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The Heat, but out west I have Memphis. They're not a force to be reckoned with. You got John Morant playing Allen Iverson right now.
High level basketball.
Right. You got Jaren Jackson. You got Brandon Clark. You got Desmond Bain out there showing his ass. You got who else you got on that team? You got Steven Adams, a center. He's kind of reinvented his game.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Dallas. You got Spencer Dinwiddie. I was kind of unsure how that trade was going to pan out for them. I mean, I felt like it was time to move on from Porzingis, but I just didn't really see the direction that the Mavs were trying to go. Okay, you get rid of a big man and you acquire another guard. Like, is that what you really need? Or should you have just acquired a big man that probably was going to produce a little bit more? So I mean, since Dinwiddie has been traded to the Mavericks, he's been averaging about 18 points a game. He's hit a game winner the other night against his former team, the Nets. He's kind of gave the Warriors some fits. So it seemed like they kind of play well off one another. And you got Bronson.
Oh, yeah.
So they got like 3 guards that can kind of slice and dice you up. And you got Tim Hardaway Jr.
Oh, yeah, he's a dog.
Josh Powell.
Dog.
So they have a pretty good team. So I feel like they can definitely come out the first round.
Oh, yeah, no, they can do something. They can make some noise. Most definitely.
The Nuggets, once they come back healthy and whole, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Jokic, Will Barton.
They got a squad.
And DeMarcus Cousins. They have a pretty.
They got a squad. They're deep. They're deep.
The Timberwolves, I feel like that's a team that's kind of slept on a little bit.
Hey, take the words right out of my mouth. They've just won 10 out of their last 11 games.
Right.
There's something to watch out for.
You got Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell.
Catman Dude putting up 60s. Putting up 60 pieces at the big man spot. I mean, come on. They got Rose?
Derrick Rose is on the Knicks.
Oh yeah, Derrick Rose went to the Knicks.
He did used to be on the Timberwolves. I think it was last season or year before last he was on the Timberwolves. But yeah, those are the teams to watch out for. The Suns, we have to see what happens with Chris Paul. So I feel like that team goes as Chris Paul goes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Devin Booker, yeah, he is the one of the featured stars, but he's not the catalyst. He's not what makes them go.
He can't. He can only do for himself.
Right.
He doesn't bring it. He doesn't bring the team together.
Exactly.
That's his thing.
That's something Chris Paul does. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to touch on in this pod, my brother?
There is one thing, and I know it's kind of left field and it's kind of going back to the NFL, but man, you can't tell me that it's not a crazy, like, just as far as just in anybody, like in all the sports. Look at what's happening with these players and how they're controlling their destiny more than ever. Like, look at the whole Randy Gregory situation. He was getting ready to sign with the Cowboys. And then he went and got an offer from the Broncos and what was like $2 more million and he left. Devontae Adams, no bias. But Devontae Adams had an offer for $3+ more million from the Green Bay Packers. But guess what he said? Fuck y'all, I'm out. I'm going where I want to go. And I'm still gonna get in my bag. Like the level of control that's going on right now, and the level of the narrative is changed for NFL players. I remember there was a time where when you got traded, you had to get traded to wherever you got traded to. You had no control over that. There was not it didn't matter how much compensation or what it was. Like, shit, if you were gonna get traded to the Jaguars, you were gonna get traded to the Jaguars, bro, and you were gonna be trash on the trash team. I mean, even for the Raiders, shit, you gonna get traded to the Raiders, and you gonna go over there and be with that mess and end your career or end up out of the league. But now these players are controlling where they want to go, how much money they get, and I mean, and to tie it all together, the NBA, I feel like, has been the spark for that. Look at what the NBA players have been able to do. I can go and play with my homie and make my money. I can go and, you know what, I can go and get my bag and still chase a championship. I mean, the NBA is leading the way.
It is. I like that. I like the players really advocating for themselves. Really knowing that they're knowing their worth, negotiating their price. Because once they get hurt, teams are gonna oftentimes kind of kick them to the curb and forget about them and move on to the next player or prospect. But also at the same time, like, since players are receiving these lucrative contracts from NFL, these lucrative other contracts from these other endorsement deals that they're receiving, do you think that takes away from the work ethic that some of these players are exhibiting? Because they are being compensated a lot, that kind of takes away from the fact that they feel like they don't need to put in as much work preparing for the season because they're receiving money from other places outside of their contracts.
True, I do feel like it does, but then at the same time, I still feel that, like, look, a team committing to you is different than an endorsement deal. Like, look, an endorsement deal might be, a couple $100,000 or a couple, or like $1 million or $2 million. These teams are really investing in you, and that's where, like, this really strikes a chord with me, because you're at, like, outside of the play, like, okay, look, I just gave you all these millions. Are you going to play for me? Hell yeah, I'm going to play for you because you invested in me. Like, these teams, I feel like there's certain teams, i.e. like the Patriots, who really don't pay players because they're not investing in you, because they know your shelf life. They know what you're worth. They pay you according to the market. Then you have certain teams that invest in their players and that give those players those money because that's what that's what their structure is. Look, we're gonna pay you off of what you've done, not what you can do. And that's why it's such a great time now. And I feel like too, like, it doesn't really take away from it, because you know what, hey, whoever has the most money, whoever's gonna stop wanting money, whoever has enough money to be like, you know what, I don't think I want to do this today. People are always going to be hungry. Players are always going to be hungry. Especially when you're living $1 million lifestyles, when you're blowing $700,000 a day. Yeah, you're going to have to keep bringing it in. You can't just be like, it's all good. I don't feel like coming to work this season. Nah, your lifestyle is conducive to what your money flow is. So if you're a dollar cheeseburger nigga and you got a dollar cheeseburger job, you're cool. But you can't be a filet mignon nigga with a dollar cheeseburger job.
Right. Facts.
Like, it doesn't work like that. I mean, shoot, is there anything you want to touch on, brother?
I'd just like to shout out Black Owned Business, Code One LLC. See the trucker hats.
All day.
Right here.
All day. Hydrate yourself, man.
Exactly. We got the First brand of water, electrolyte enhanced, aluminum bottle.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got the alkaline for you.
You gotta stay hydrated with Cold Ones. Cold Ones will
9.5
refresh your
pH.
thirst.
Cold1water.com.
It has all the electrolytes and the pH that you
We're
need
in
to
several
rehydrate
stores.
your body.
We're in Martin's Liquor in San Leandro. We're in N&M
In multiple
Liquor
locations.
in Hayward. We're in V&M Liquor in Oakland. We're at Pete's Market in Oakland.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
at People's Market in Stockton. We're on
All
a
Bay Area.
taco truck in Stockton. Blanking of the name right now, but yes, we're trying to expand. We're trying to get to Whole Foods. We're trying to get to Walmart and Target. So that's the end goal. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out, of course, shout out to the black-owned businesses. Shout out to Cold Ones. Shout out to, you know, Village of Legends and, you know, all their creative products. Go tap in with them on their Instagram. That's creative. That's Village of Legends. Village of Legends clothing.
Oh yeah, at Cold One Water. So at COLD 1, like the number 1, WATER, on Instagram. And again, the website is www.coldwater.com.
Oh yeah. And then also go on Swing by the Bread Made Media page, you know, show some love, give me a follow. Hey, leave some comments, leave reviews, leave anything. Constructive criticism is always a must.
Always welcome.
And you know, I mean, this has been a great pod. You know, we're always gonna come to you. You know, we're gonna give you some fresh information, keep the energy live, and all. You know, wish you guys a good night.
Absolutely. Peace and hair grease. It's been a real one.